Okay, well,
right.
it is 3 o'clock and I will call this meeting of the Arms Policy Board to order. Sanford, if you'd please conduct the roll call.
Sure. We have Chief Cobb from Champaign.
Here.
Thank you. Chief Carey from the University of Illinois.
Present.
Chief Brown from Rantoul Police.
Here.
Sheriff Herman from the Champaign County Sheriff's Office.
I am here.
And Chief Seraphin from Urbana Police.
Here. So I will read
Alright, we
this
are-
COVID disclaimer and we'll move on about our business. Due to the Governor Pritzker and mayoral emergency COVID-19 orders, the Urbana City Building will not be open to the public during this meeting. Board members will meet remotely using Zoom webinar. You may watch the meeting on streaming services on Urbana Public Television or attend via Zoom. And as an addendum, there was, I guess, multiple pages of material regarding public input that was indeed sent out with the agenda. Do we have any additions to the agenda today?
Actually do. I would like to have the board approve a meeting schedule for 2021,
Okay,
which I forgot to include.
okay,
So we can throw that into new business.
we will throw that down into new business let's see, calendar for 21. All right, then let's go. Everybody got the approval, or excuse me, everybody got Arms Policy Board meetings, I believe, from August and then again from October. If anybody has any discussion items or anything that we need to change with regards to the minutes from August and October meetings. If not, I'll entertain a motion to pass those through.
I'll move, Sheriff.
I'll second. Cobb.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion specifically then beyond? Seeing none, Sanford, I guess would you please conduct the roll call vote?
Sure. Chief Cobb,
Yes.
Chief Carey,
Yes.
Chief Brown,
Yes.
Sheriff Herman,
Yes.
Chief Seraphin.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next up is public input. I do not see any attendees listed this afternoon. Did we receive any electronic public input?
I did not receive any electronic public input.
All right, we will then move on to staff report. And it looks like we'll start with recent activities in development.
Yeah, development update. I've been spending the vast majority of my time working on the NIBRS project for the grant work. We are going to have to push that to a secondary priority for a little while here in the near future because of the CAD integration that we're going to have to work into ARMS. Let's see, as far as moving on into NIBRS grant and programming work, I've been working primarily on the back-end systems with data validations and data transfers. The bulk of the translations are done, and we're actually into a testing mode with the ISP. They activated their test site about a month ago in mid-October. I've got all the agencies enrolled and have successfully tested cases for each of those. So I've been doing a lot of incident submission testing and data validation work, which consumes most of my time right now. I also sent a notice out to the agencies, to the Arms User Group people about the certification process. The FBI is requiring the state police to have 6 months worth of data before the state police can be certified with the FBI. We're a little ahead of the curve on most of the other developers. because we had started going back to June to submit data, but they've instead wanted us to start with the November 1st data. So what's going to happen is probably in mid-December, we're going to have the agencies run their monthly IUCR summary validations. And then after that, I'll begin to build data to submit to the FBI, and well, through the ISP. And I'll run those probably a week at a time is what we're looking at this point. And I'll work with the agencies to make sure that we pass certification on those. So I'll run those against the test system first. And we'll just continue that process manually for the next few months anyway. I want to get into automation later so that it's not quite a manual process. Anyway, we'll work with them to through the whole certification period here to get things going. One of the challenges we've run into is we were going to move in several new offenses on October 1st, which I believe I made this group aware of prior to that. But the ISP has asked us to hold off on that until after we're certified. And some of the challenges that presents is we have several offenses that will not certify because aggravated battery, for example, if that's filed with the FBI's aggravated battery, they require injuries, but yet the state has a fair amount of offenses that are aggravated that do not have injuries, which those fail. But we've got a workaround that I've been testing. It seems to work well, where we'll do an override similar to what we do with the IUCR that will look at the new offense file just for that process strictly so we can get past that. And that's pretty much where we sit now with that.
Tim, from the go ahead. So, Tim, from my perspective, and here, feel free to contradict me. I would say that for the purpose of everybody on this call to understand where we stand in general in NIBRS, like you said, we're ahead of the curve. We are kind of waiting for the state to prepare itself. We're going to be doing the 6 months verification starting in November, but essentially, is there anything that we're looking at all the agencies to do in the short term, or is this just kind of let the process play out?
I think it's let the process play out at this point. We'll know more as we get into it. So far, the certification, the tests have gone pretty well. There's some more validations that I need to add to smooth the process out. Just over the past couple of days, I've submitted all of Urbana's June incidents in the test system, and most of those certified pretty well, and I've got workarounds for the ones that don't. It will be a long, drawn-out process, so it's going to be time-consuming for the agencies and myself, but so we'll work through it and get it done.
Yeah, and I think what's important to always keep in mind is, we'll be NIBRS, you will be NIBRS certified probably as early as anybody in Illinois. From the perspective of what are the downsides of not being compliant as of January 1st, I really don't think there are any. I mean, I think that the feds know our status, the state knows our status. So, from the perspective of, oh, wow, there's a January 1st deadline, I think the short-term answer is you are all doing fine.
Yeah, and the ISP has not even come up with validation or certification procedures yet. They still haven't even got those completely developed. So the DOJ, in fact, are the ones that initially recommended that we hold off until submitting November data instead of backtracking to June, because they said we're going to be done way before everybody else and just sitting around waiting for the other agencies to certify and get the state to the level. They need to have 25 agencies certified before they can get certified with the FBI, which after they get certified, then we can get certified.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
let's talk about Tim, within the context of the development. Do you want to talk just a little bit about the work for MetCAD and the CAD changeover coming?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess CAD is scheduled to cut over on January 19th, I believe, is the last that we had heard, to the new Tyler system. And we've got certain portions of ARMS that will need to communicate with the new CAD software. Although there'll be a fair chunk of things that are in ARMS now that will shift to the CAD software. All the reporting mechanisms are going to run under CAD. We're not going to go back and convert all of the ARM systems to do things the CAD system will already be able to do and do much better. It'll be a much more robust reporting system. But we do need to still provide the linkage to populate data in field reports from the call. There are a few other things that the agencies need to be aware of too, and I believe they all are, and that's just the fact that the badge numbers are going to be 6-digit badge numbers now versus the 4 that we use, but we actually have a sequence number that's at the end of the badge numbers that they will be using with CAD, so we're in pretty good shape on that, I think. I've given all the lists to the MetCAD for those, and I believe each agency has submitted a list to them too with those additional sequence numbers. There is a portion of this which I think Sanford's got later on the agenda here too to discuss some programming assistance with some of the CAD software as far as translating that into some SQL data that we'll need, which will interface to them with ARMS.
Yeah, let me just give a little color commentary around the things that people do now in ARMS that they will not do in ARMS in the future. So if you go back in time, I don't know, at least since I've been around, so at least about 7 years now, there were, there were queries that people wanted to run of calls for service that it's true just CAD data. They just wanted to query CAD data and know how many calls for service of this type, that type were they getting. It was hard to use the tools that Tiburon had. And so and I believe this was Dave Wakefield, I mean, we basically were able to use ARMS as an intermediary to talk to the CAD. And then record staff and other analysis data people were able to pull calls for service information out, and there are lots of queries that people were running, shots fired queries, or, different types of call types. Anyway, all of that is going to stop coming through ARMS because they'll have good tools directly from the CAD. And so that's basically, it's just something where we were an intermediary that they were using, but now they won't need us anymore to do that. So that's all. Okay, let's talk about the annual report. I sent it ahead of time, and Chief Brown's going to touch upon the finances, but let me pull up the annual report here for a moment. So this is moving into the last item in the staff report. Our big 2 achievements during the year is all the NIBRS work that Tim's been doing and getting away from this expensive kind of clunky reporting tool that we're using to a free clunky reporting tool that we're using. And we hope to improve on that further in the future. But, there was a decent amount of work to kind of rebuild stuff that we had an intern for a little while. The summer of 2019, we had an intern for a month or so, but then also Dave Wakefield picked it up and finished out the work. So, we were happy to make that transition. And, again, I want to emphasize something that the thing that we built to hold all that data, once we transition away from ARMS and move to a new RMS, that information will still be available on an ongoing basis for reports or for reporting or anything else. So that's going to be the long-term solution, to look up data from ARMS that we choose not to convert to the new system. Just throwing that out there. And then, a lot of the other achievements during the year have been related to doing all the replacement analysis for the RMS. Any questions on the annual report that's outside of the finances? Okay. All right. Well, then I think we should transition to the next item on the agenda and talk finances.
So yes, agenda item 6, reports of committees and officers, and I guess that is Chief Brown regarding the treasurer's report.
Yeah, Sanford and Tim and I met, I think it was a week ago Monday, and kind of reviewed the financial report of the fiscal year last year. And I think Sanford, can you go over if you want more specific numbers, but we did end up with a surplus. And I think that, if I remember correctly, that was a lot of that was due to the grant that we had for the NIBRS stuff, and being given money towards that, and the time spent on that was a reason why we had a nice surplus this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll just, scroll down, to just like Chief said, besides what we build, and keep in mind, this is the last year that we're billing you for arms. So you won't see any more arms invoices after the current fiscal year. But the other miscellaneous revenue here, the 54,000, that's the grant work. And with the grant extension that we got, Tim's will continue to bill on that in the current fiscal year. So, we hope to have a nice healthy balance by the end. And remember that the plan is to let arms then feed off its own savings for the next 2 years. So, based on where we stand, based on projected work, I think that there will be sufficient balance for arms to see itself all the way through, based on what we see right now. And then from an expenses perspective, we were actually a little bit under costs, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment. But one of the reasons is we found out we were underpaying Tim. And for all the good work that Tim's been doing, and the all the fact that we were getting reimbursed for his salary anyway, we certainly, do not want to be underpaying Tim. Any questions on the finances? I'm happy to go into it, but I don't want to dwell on it too long.
Okay.
I think a motion to put the annual report on file.
Seems like sure, that seems like a reasonable thing. So I guess as the chair, I'll entertain a motion to put the area-wide records management system annual report for 2020 on file. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Tony.
Second, Dustin.
All right, we got any discussion? All right, if Sanford, if you would please call the roll.
Sure. Sheriff Herman,
Yes.
Chief Brown,
Yes.
Chief Cobb,
Yes.
Chief Carey,
Yes.
Chief Seraphin.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all.
So it looks like number 7 on our agenda is the planning for a new RMS, and then our addition with the calendar. So Sanford, I'll let you take in whatever order you like.
Yeah, no, the calendar is going to go under new business. But
Yes,
yeah, I just
as it should.
to update on the new RMS. I don't have too much to say on this. Each of you is hopefully in the process of getting the IGA approved, signed, etc. Does anybody? Well, let's just go around the horn, and everybody kind of pipe up on their current status. Sheriff, I'll start with you.
I'm expecting the county board to approve it tonight. They approved it through their committee last week, and it's on the consent agenda tonight. So I'm not expecting any issues with it.
Excellent. Chief Brown?
Our village board approved it last week.
Outstanding. Chief Cobb?
It's been presented before our council. Mark, you want to cover it? You were part of the presentation.
Yeah, we did the study session. I think it's been scheduled to go back for approval. Anthony, I don't have it in front of me. I want to say December 9th.
Think you're right. We had study session. We just had to do the finalized bill and do it. And would have been IGA, I think. Help me out here, Mark. Do we approve it before everyone else? Our council's the last to approve it.
Sounding like our council will be the last one to approve it, but the study session went well. They said,
Yeah,
"Proceed,
study,
bring it forward for formal."
yeah, we anticipate it does, but I think and our our council's last to approve it if we're going to be a lead agency signing off on it. But I think it is the early part of December. It's going. I don't have my agenda planner in front of me.
Yeah, I was on an email thread. I think that date's right. And I think there's even discussion about postponing the MetCAD policy board slightly so that it occurs after that meeting.
That is correct. I think Medicare Policy Board got moved to December 17th to make sure everything lines up appropriately.
Okay. Chief Seraphin?
Yes, so yes, it made it through its committee discussion at Urbana. It was passed by the city council, and I believe Mayor Marlin's already signed the appropriate documents and got them over to Tom Yu at Champaign City Legal. So
Great.
as I said before, I think this is a huge deal for us. This has been going on for over a decade. So
Chief Gary, do you know what the status is?
I don't, I think it's with our legal,
Okay.
but I'd have to follow up. Probably Mike D could give me that information.
Okay. And then I guess, I sent an email to the account exec for us, Nicolette, and sent her the summary of changes from all the detailed discussions we had with your teams in September and October. What we did is we identified all the possible things that we may not need, and we went ahead and knocked them off the list. So the price of the contract is going to be less than the number that we have been talking about so far in terms of budgeting. But don't get too excited, because I guarantee that there will be additional things that are added once we get started. So, for example, one of the ones that each of you was asked to be paying for was a body camera interface. We decided from further discussions that that doesn't need to come from the RMS at all. That could actually come from the CAD. So we took, all 5 of those body camera interfaces off the list of things that we're going to pay for, which was like $75,000. So that's great. But, I guarantee there'll be other new things that come up as we go. So the idea is that we're going to pay, it's good to have the budget numbers we were previously talking about. Please don't change your budget numbers. Those numbers are good. And even if the initial contract is, a little bit less than that, that gives us some room that as we get, into this process, 3 months in, 6 months in, we'll start, you lift up a rock and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize there was all that complexity there. So that gives us some room to expand the contract as we go. So
I have a quick question. I don't know if this is maybe for Sanford or even for Champaign with regards to once we get the IGA all signed, assuming they all move forward. When does that, I have to go back, and when does that board stand up? Does anybody recall? Maybe that. Good.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
I don't have an answer. I will
Okay.
say this: I'm getting, I'm hopeful, but getting a little nervous about our ability to sign a contract by December 31st. Which, remember, the only downside of not signing it by December 31st is that the price might increase a couple percentage points. But given we're talking like $1 million, more than $1 million, that's real money. So I think that probably the best answer to that, Chief Seraphin, will be there's a discussion that's been scheduled for November 30th. So the Monday after Thanksgiving. Just kind of a touch base with Tom Yu and Ralph Caldwell and myself and a few other people to, kind of get, given the fact that things look good for the IGA, what can we do to get that next step moving forward? And if that's getting a
Sure.
contract that we start reviewing, all through December, just so that, the timing works out where right when the board is seated, maybe we have a contract ready for them to approve. We're going to cut the timing pretty close. I think that's just a statement.
Okay. All right, yeah, that would be, yeah, I suppose if we need to maneuver on these things throughout December so that we can, as soon as it's, because I think the components of the board are pretty well known. So if there is indeed contract stuff that needs to be reviewed, I like the idea of your November 30th prep meeting. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anything else under new RMS?
Anyone have any questions or concerns worth mentioning?
All right, then I guess we'll move on to the new business that's where the calendar for 21 will be, and I'll let you work through this, Sanford.
Yeah, let's do that first. And I don't know that we've actually done this in these meetings before, and I apologize. I don't have it on. But anyway, just staying with the same regular schedule, third Thursday of each month. It would be January 21st, April 15th, July 15th, and October 21st. So that would be just continuing the same schedule for another year.
Question, if we're moving to a new RMS system and going to spin up a new board, do we need to meet as often? Should we look at maybe doing a revised schedule, do it at another meeting? But would it make more sense to set, like we do with the emergency telephone system through MEDCAT? We have monthly meetings for the policy board, but emergency board only meets once a year because we need to keep it in existence, but most stuff happens at the policy board meeting. Does it make sense for us to get together?
So essentially, Anthony, sort of if the new RMS board meets whenever they meet quarterly, if we need to meet as the arms policy board, convene that like the telephone MEDCAT deal is what you're saying there, huh?
That's what I'm asking. Is there a need to do so? I know ARM's still working in the back behind, but we're not looking to make any new updates or anything to ARMS. Just now they're just doing whatever is necessary to keep it up and going as we transition. Is there a need for a quarterly meeting? Maybe it should be every 6 months. Might be a better way to go. A little bit more often because there's stuff that's going on to keep us where, I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm kind of deferring to Sanford or see what they need, what they think they may need as we're moving forward. Because like I said, we're moving away from ours. So that's the reason why I asked the question.
I think it's a good point. I don't know if the ARMS agreement stipulates quarterly meetings or not, to be honest. I signed off my work computer to get to get a good Zoom connection, so I can't answer that question right now.
Well, Anthony spun around with purpose, so I'm guessing he's pulling that out. I don't exactly know what the implications are with regards to the to be compliant with Open Meetings Act. So whether we need to announce, is it easier to announce this and accept this today and then change it in January if we decide that we need to pivot or decide that we want to move away? Don't get me wrong. I love seeing all you people, but I don't need extra meetings. So if we think we want to just piggyback these onto the new RMS schedule, that would be appropriate with me too. But if Sanford, I don't know if we need to put something out by January 1st,
Yeah.
this is the schedule. The city of Urbana's got to get it posted. Then we could adopt this calendar and I guess adjust later if we need to. Is that where this is coming from?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, how about this? I mean, my suggestion would be at this point, let's schedule quarterly and then we can cancel the meetings if we don't have business. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. That seems reasonable. Do I need to have like a vote over the calendar days that we've selected in January, April, July, and October?
We do. So I'll read them off again just so everybody's on board. January 21st, April 15th, July 15th, October 21st.
And this would be at the same 3 o'clock meeting time as well?
Good point. 3 o'clock.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the calendar for 21.
I'll make the motion.
Second, Tony.
So I thought that was Dustin and Tony.
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion about the calendar? Seeing none, Sanford, please take a vote.
Sheriff Herman,
Yes.
Chief Brown,
Yes.
Chief Cobb,
Yes.
Chief Carey,
Yes.
Chief Seraphin.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. The final one is it's not, I don't know. I said it as approval. Maybe that was my bad, but you can take a motion on it if you wish. It was more notifying you. We're not going to do any budget amendments. I think that's worth noting. So I sent an email. I'm sorry, I sent a memo. Let me pull up my memo. I'm not going to read it to you, but just in case anybody has any detailed questions. So the first one, and this is all on me, there's a process where I'm supposed to take Tim off of his probationary rate, and I never did. That was supposed to have happened in June of 2019. So from the period of June 2019 up until September 25th, we were underpaying Tim at a probationary rate. The outstanding accounting staff at Urbana helped me out. The amount of the correction is $5,149.83. So we are going to retroactively pay Tim that amount. We can do one discussion to approve both of these if you see fit. The second one is, Tim referenced this. So this has to do with the CAD integration. There's a piece of the CAD integration work that is something that is a pretty specific skill set. Not that Tim couldn't do it, but it's not something that Tim has a lot of experience in. So it's going to require, some Googling, some wasted effort while we figured it out. And after Tim and I had a discussion about this, we reached out and found somebody online who just does this kind of stuff. So we're going to do a contract with this vendor. When we described the work to them, they said 8 hours, but I'm going to go ahead and assume it's going to take twice that because that's how these kind of things go. So even at 16 hours of work, it's $2,400, and we will pay that out of the technology services budget line. So those are the two items of planned spending, and the money for that will come out of the arms, war chest. No additional money will be requested from your agencies for that. And in fact, as you could see in the 2020 fiscal report, we were underspent on personnel because we were underpaying Tim. So, in a sense, we're just letting things catch up with what they should have been. So I am asking the policy board to approve these two expenditures, the retroactive pay to Tim, and then the CAD to SQL creation.
So I guess I will entertain this motion for our little homemade omnibus budget amendment for both of these things. I said a budget amendment, but allowance for an expenditure, I suppose we'll call this.
So move, Chief Cobb.
I'll second.
All right, so motion by Cobb, second by Carey. Sanford, any discussion by anybody? I'll let Sanford call the roll then.
Okay. Chief Cobb,
Yes.
Chief Carey,
Yes.
Chief Brown,
Yes.
Sheriff Herman,
Yes.
Chief Seraphin.
Yes.
Outstanding. I appreciate it, everybody. I apologize to cause this problem. That was my oversight.
Okay, so that looks like that was the last item of new business on our agenda today. So I don't know if anybody else has anything that we need to discuss, I guess, or otherwise I'll just make one final comment as we get ready to close. My assistant Cassie Heldman was doing some work and had to reach out to some NIBRS staff whose name I don't recall off the top of my head. but when she identified herself and where she was, this NIBR staff person knew Tim Smith and then proceeded to rave about Tim Smith and his good work with the NIBR's conversion of arms. So Tim, I just wanted to salute you in front of everyone here today. And we do thank you for the work that you do. So
Thank you, Chief.
I guess at this point, seeing no further business before this board, it is 3:36, and that will conclude this meeting. Thank you.